All right. We got a lot to unpack today. I'm only doing one video a week now. I'm getting kind of busy, and I also see my numbers dropping as far as videos go. So we got a lot to unpack. HELOC limit cuts. So I was just talking to a friend the other day, and he told me he had a $62,000, I think it was $66,000 HELOC, and they cut it down to $55,000 limit. Now, they only had a balance of $4,000, but that's neither here nor there. What that tells me, this is the first I've heard of a HELOC limit cut. What that tells me is the bank is going through and doing some risk management at the credit union. This was a Desert Schools credit union cut loan. So that's interesting. So obviously they feel like values, prices, whatever you want to call it, however you want to go there, are going down, right? So why otherwise would the bank be going through and cutting people's limits on their HELOCs? Secondly, I saw that Flagstaff, Arizona is raising their minimum wage to $16.80 starting January 23rd. Now, I also saw that the railway workers, they were going to go on strike by Friday if their demands for a wage increase were not met. Those were met. They're still in negotiations, but they're going to be getting a 24% wage increase. Now, this is I think it was a 4 or 5 year plan, and it's retro back to 2020. So they're going to be getting some back pay, which amounted to, I guess, $11,000 per worker. Now, if they weren't to avert that railway strike, our supply chain would be immensely disrupted again. So that's a great thing that they finally got it. But what I'm trying to point out here is wage inflation, right? Wage inflation, to try and keep up with the other inflation. People are just not able to keep up right now with the inflation. And so what we're going to see is A, layoffs, massive layoffs, and B, wage inflation. Another thing I really wanted to point out to you guys was the benefit right now of VA and FHA loans, right? So let's say you purchase a home right now, and in 12 months, your home ends up underwater because you put nothing down, zero down, or maybe 3.5% down on the FHA, right? Well, the good news is that if the feds pivot, when they pivot, I should say, because there's no way they can keep this going, you'll be able to use what's called a Streamline Refinance or an EARL on the VA loans. So what that means is no appraisal, no paychecks. You just have to save like 5% a month on your payment, and basically you're eligible to get a rate reduction. So that is the benefit of buying with one of those two programs if you need to buy right now, which I just, it dawned on me. I was like, hey, yeah, it is a large funding fee, which is crappy, which, at FHA, it's 1.75% they add on to your loan. So if you're buying, say, a $450,000 loan or a $450,000 home, $457, and it comes down to $441, which just happens to be the limit of FHA currently, which I believe will go up here shortly. Probably by October or November, they're going to announce, a higher loan limit for FHA. But let's say you do a $441 FHA loan, well, they're going to tack on around $7,700 on top of your loan. That's 1.75% of $441,000. That's a lot of money to be adding on to your loan, but the interest rate reduction, if you end up underwater, might just save your home if the economy goes in the tank and houses go in the tank after you purchase your home right now, which I feel like we've just lost 20% in the past 6 months in many areas, in many neighborhoods around Phoenix and Flagstaff. So I've posted a couple examples on my Facebook page where the prices have been cut 20%, almost 20%. And the reason they were priced where they were priced is because the comps were supporting those listing prices back in March and April. Things closed at those levels. So for people to come back and say in our industry, oh, well, they were overpricing it and wishful pricing, The reason they got to those pricing numbers is because they were supporting comps. That was back then though. Back then, the comps have drastically fallen, the inventory has drastically grown, and the interest rates have drastically gone up. So FHA and VA, that may be a great selling point to some of your borrowers, your buyers, or however, whoever's watching in my industry. So yeah, that's good. That's good news. The Amtrak is going to be able to reschedule their long distance. They had canceled a bunch of long distance routes, so that's great. The real estate industry is hurting for certain right now, and we have all these big companies doing layoffs, and nobody talks really about the real estate industry and its layoffs. Well, the layoffs come when mortgage applications are at a 22-year low and they decline year over year 30%. That's a layoff because in my industry, everybody works pretty much 100% commission, aside from maybe processors, underwriters, loan officer assistants, but they still do work on, salary plus commission or whatever. So everybody's getting laid off basically because the volume has dropped. We're only closing maybe 6,000 homes a month when we should be closing 8,500 to 10,000 homes a month. That's really the norm. And I think this is going to continue for the next year. Yeah, the HELOC cuts, the wage increases, both the Flagstaff I'm showing you and the railway, they're increasing, and the streamlines. So those are some of the things to keep in mind when you're purchasing a home that fits in within those parameters. And also if you're taking out a HELOC, you got to know that at any time the bank could come in and cut your limit. They could cut you off and say, oh, you owe $4,000 and you had a $50,000 limit, but you know what? We're just going to cut it all off because we feel like it. That's our risk management prerogative. And now you just have to pay it back and you have no leverage on loan for home improvements or whatever you were taking it out for. So be on the lookout. If you have a HELOC, it could get cut at any time. And I appreciate you watching. I appreciate your time, and leave your comments below whether you feel like $16.80 an hour is a great minimum wage for Flagstaff workers. Will it be coming to Phoenix? Let me know what your thoughts are. I appreciate you watching. Until next time,